stay there. Kinia is gonna.
Behind the scenes, we are live. We just want to introduce the baby. Hi, everybody. I've got somebody very special with me today, Kamil, and for just 2 seconds, Alexander.
Hey, Alex, look over here.
It's a real life moment. He's just about to. All right, he can be scooped up. We just wanted to show the baby. Thank you, Celia, for working with Kamil. So it's 8 p.m. in Brussels right now, right? And so Kamil is with his family, and thanks to the collaboration of everybody, that's why he's here today. And that's what we talk about here. It takes a team to survive all of this. So Kamil, tell us about yourself and your family.
Hey, Kinya, thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to finally come on your show. You know, I'm a big fan, and I watch the shows in my free time, and so really, I'm just so excited to be here with you. So Celia's just come in. Alex will make his departure. So thank you, Alex. Time for him to go to bed. Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm just such a big fan. It's such a great show, such a great initiative. And what can I say? I'm based here in Belgium, in Brussels. I've been living here for the last 10, 11 years or so. I came to do a master's, but ended up sticking around because I met my then to be let's say, or now, which is now wife, but then girlfriend Celia, who's like we were chatting just off scenes. She's really the rock here of our family, and we ended up staying here in Belgium because it was a good. Well, we ended up finding jobs, and then it became a good intermediary place for us to be because, you know, I have family in Poland, I have family in Canada, Celia's family in Spain, so we decided just to stick around in Europe. I'm working in the pharmaceutical sector, so I work for a company called UCB Pharma. I've been in the pharmaceutical sector since I graduated. Celia's working in finances for a company called Euroclear. It's like a clearing house in Belgium, but works at a global level. And so we're here in Belgium, parents of two, of Luisa, who's 3.5 years old, and Alexander, who you guys just met, who's actually 1 year old. He celebrated his 1 year, actually 1 year birthday. It was this week on the 23rd. So big milestone for that little champion.
Happy birthday. And thank you for joining us. I'm so grateful. I'll give a little bit more context. So Kamil and I met at a conference called Poland the Rockies 2006. At the same place I met my husband in Canmore in Alberta. Kamil grew up in Ottawa and studied there too. And 2006, now we're going to be 21. How many years is that, Kamil? Like 14, 15? I'm slow on the math this morning, but over like a decade and a half ago that we met. And so, you know, we both started families in very different cities from where we grew up. And it's just so nice to be able to reconnect with you in this forum and have your perspective as a dad. So you've agreed to talk to me today about your experience with COVID hitting your whole family. And that is so generous of you because you were literally just on the mend. Last week, we were still sending thoughts and prayers your way for a quick recovery. And, you know, you told me all about it when we were talking on Messenger, and then we talked about you speaking to it. So first of all, thank you for that. And tell me what happened. Tell me what happened in the last few weeks.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So Kinia, I'm right now smiles and you know, let's say I'm back to my old positive, optimistic self. Still with a bit of, you know, stuff in my throat and my chest. I still have a little bit of you know, hard time breathing sometimes because indeed we went through a pretty dramatic experience. And we were one of the unfortunate people who caught the coronavirus. It was definitely a life-changing experience, so to say, just because it makes you realize so many things, right? When you catch it, you know, the thing people have been talking about for, you know, the last you know, 10 months or so. You think of all the media reports that you've seen of people, you know, passing away, succumbing to the virus, and you know, as a parent, there was stuff like that I you know, those thoughts crossed my mind, like, how will our bodies react? How will we go through this? and different people react so differently to this virus, right? Me and Celia both started getting fevers on the 11th of November. And that's definitely one of the common symptoms that we had. But she started developing a sore throat. I didn't. I started developing signs of a secondary infection and pneumonia. She didn't. I lost my smell. She didn't. And so you never know how it's gonna really hit you. And so we got tested as fast as we possibly could. The first doctor's appointment that we can get with our general practitioner, we got. And then of course it was positive. And then that's when just the reality hit us, and those scary thoughts started coming in. But at the same time, it started getting worse. We started getting fatigued. We started getting these big headaches, horrible fever, and we were just thinking, oh my goodness, how are we going to get through this? We have two small kids we need to take care of. All four of us had to be in isolation, meaning basically we couldn't get out of our apartment here in Brussels, and we had to try to do our best to cope. So we were going on reserves trying to take care of the kids, because the kids don't stop. Actually, the good thing is the kids, they weren't affected as much as we were, which is the positive thing about this virus, is that the kids were eating. They didn't really show any big signs that they were distraught or they were suffering. Alex developed a small cough, but it wasn't anything worse than a cold or something like that he's had before. Didn't even get a fever. He was eating. He was healthy, and so we just had to take care of him and make sure we somehow find that balance of trying to recover and get our bed rest, but also alternate between me and Celia to make sure whenever somebody's got a high of energy or is not being drained as much as the other one, that we're just jumping in and trying to fill that void and trying to kind of alternate in that regard. And the good thing was that in terms of our kind of bodily response to the virus, in the morning somehow I was a bit more energetic than Celia. And so I was able to wake up early, take care of the kids, feed them, play with them as much as I could, or have them hop around me as I'm just lying there on the sofa. Right. And then towards the afternoon, that's when the virus started just draining me and getting the best of me. And that's, Celia having that morning rest was able to take over, and we'd pass the baton like that, and just try to do our best, right? And yeah, we made it, right? We're so grateful that we're able to really get to this point and overcome and just get through that together. And it definitely made us stronger as a couple. We were the best team we could have ever been, right? It's those moments that really solidify, make or break even, I would say families. And in our case, we're happy that we were able to just back each other up, and we feel like we got out stronger, and that our relationship is just so much stronger because we're able to literally, as we promise ourselves, in sickness or in health, overcome this very challenging time, right? So yeah, so we made it. And if I'm really open to this discussion today. If you have any questions, or if there's anything I can share with your viewers on not only how we overcame, but also symptoms, or if they have any questions, I'm really happy to dive into those, and also offer my contact information if people start feeling those symptoms. If I can share, any things that we did throughout the process, so that they can have a smoother recovery.
That's really, really generous of you. I know we have a couple of people tuning in live. A lot of people watch the replay later. Did it all happen suddenly? I think there's a difference between a cold and COVID. Does COVID hit suddenly, or did you feel it creeping up on you?
It's a good question, because when I look back now, there was times where we told ourselves, like the days leading up to November 11th, like I have a bit of a sore throat, but the weather was changing, and it just felt like it's just maybe it's nothing. It's the weather's changing. The room was cold last night. No worries. So that was something that we both kind of felt a few days before the big fever. And when I was doing some reading up on the virus, when I was going through it and trying to read other people's symptoms, seems like a lot of people also get that kind of very light sore throat. It's almost you can disregard it. It doesn't feel like anything, but I think that's probably the virus. It was probably there by that time, just incubating and being ready to hit. So and then both of us got the high fever on the very same day. It was November 11th. I was off with the kids. Celia was working. She started feeling nauseous and weak. She told her boss, and I came home. I think I was at the park or something. Yeah, I was at the park playing with the kids, and then yeah, I started feeling weak as well. Temperature shot up, and then we started fearing the worst. We're like, okay, let's relax, let's go to sleep, let's see what happens tomorrow morning. And we just started kind of waiting for the hallmark symptoms to kick in, or not. And unfortunately, the day after, I started losing my sense of smell and sense of taste. We still had the fever, huge headache, fatigue. We're feeling drained. We couldn't sleep, and yeah, and so yeah, we kind of, even before we got the positive result from the test, we started realizing that it must be it, right?
Yeah.
But then when you do the test and the reality hits you, it's just like it, oh, it's that was a scary and very emotional feeling. It just hits you, and you just kind of have to cope with the reality, right? Emotionally, then you have to just kind of brace yourself for could get worse. We got the test results on the Friday, meaning that doctors weren't probably going to be working over the weekend. So our minds started racing and started kind of going like, oh, what if it gets worse on the weekend? Will we be able to see a doctor? Will we need to go to emergency? And if we go to emergency, will we have to stay? Who will take care of the kids? It's only going to be one of us. Or both of us. Who will we leave the kids with? These kinds of things just start running through your mind, and you start trying to come up with scenarios while you're totally drained and almost not thinking clearly, because one of the symptoms of COVID is also it's called like a brain fog. You just can't think properly. And so it's yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, and it was just really tough to try to grapple with all those questions. And that's what I mean. It was just an emotionally draining time as much as it was a physically draining time because of the virus, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
and
go ahead. Go
no, I
on.
was just going to say, and something maybe coming back to a realization that I had, and then we had together with Celia, is here in Brussels, we're expats. Like we've come to Brussels to study. We ended up working here. We ended up settling, but we don't really have any close family. So one of the things that really hit us is when we're asking ourselves those questions. When you're around family, or you've been living somewhere all your life, you have such close friends that you can entrust the kids to. We were thinking like, who are we gonna leave the kids with? Who can we trust? We don't have family around. It kind of made us sad, but it also made us realize that, my goodness, we need to build those social support systems in the case of whatever it may be. And we just realized how important, how lucky people are to have family around, and we need to see how we can maybe in the future settle as the kids grow closer to family, closer to home, because uh, yeah, it's something yeah, we don't we not only missed, but we realized how important it is in the case of any accident or a situation like this, right? So
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Kamil. I was just it was scary when I found out that you were sick. I'm so sorry you went through all of this. And again, Thank you so much for, even as it's so raw, taking the time to share your experience, because it can be so abstract. Where I am in Edmonton right now, actually the cases are going up, but I work from home. My husband's school recently had its first case, and it seemed like they were able to, where he teaches, they were able to, follow the procedures. And it sounds like only one person, was affected. But it's definitely scary when it feels like first it was far, we were under control, and now it just seems like it's bad everywhere. And so what really struck me is when you were talking about the mental aspect of it, and the title here is Keeping the Faith When COVID Hits the Whole Family. And I wanted to explore that with you, because indeed it was a mental battle for you. You read all the headlines in the media, and then you're imprinted on that. But now you've recovered, and you're here to tell, I don't know if that's the term they use, survivor story right now. So as you look back on the last few weeks, how did you manage to survive mentally? Because physically you are recovering. So how did you fight the battle mentally?
Yeah, that's a good question, Kinia. And yeah, it's I'll tell you what helped me a lot. So 2020 hasn't been good to me, like on the health front. So I broke my elbow in March, right? No, sorry, not in March, in end of January towards February, beginning of February. And that was a traumatic injury for me, because basketball is like the only thing I have as a hobby or as something to get my mind off work and family. And it was pretty traumatic because it was like a broken radial head, which can be quite serious, right? And could require surgery, and could mean that maybe I'd never play basketball, ever. And so during that recovery, what kept me like focused and believing that I'll get over it is just a very strong positive outlook, and just being proactive with trying to do everything in terms of eating, rest, recovery, uh, in a way that I really respect that. And so when I was sick with the virus, I was thinking back to that mental space that I was in March, really trying to look optimistically at the outlook, trying to do everything possible within my control to reinforce my body through hydration, through eating, through vitamins, through supplements, and just be proactive with it, with also seeing the doctor and communicating with the doctor, which was what I was doing in March. And there was the same thing here, like. I was, because the virus tires you out. So and there's there are medications that we know of now, but it's still a novel virus. So it's like there's not like kind of like really a foolproof medication that can get you out of it. And so I was telling myself I need to take that same approach. I need to eat well, stay hydrated, try to sleep, even though I couldn't. Even move around, because they say that it's good to move around and make sure if your breathing starts to be constricted, that your lungs and your chests are moving to give it that extra intake of air. And so I think that definitely helped me to just stay positive and look forward. And I'll tell you something, I'm definitely really lucky as well, because when I was a kid and I was a teen, I used to have episodes of like pneumonia and bronchitis. And so actually I'm one of those people that are more likely to develop that. And actually I ended up developing a COVID pneumonia. And it was on the Saturday morning. Like I woke up just coughing with a deep chest congestion. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I need to reach out to my doctor and again, this notion of proactive. I didn't let, whenever I saw a something developing that was worrisome, I really quickly either reached out to the doctor, researched it online, talked to some friends. I have a very dear friend named Dina Thompson, who's also a nurse. I was in constant contact with her through WhatsApp. And so I reached out to my doctor and told him that through email, and thank God he was answering his emails, and he shot me off like an email prescription for an antibiotic. And I think that antibiotic really helped me, because I was worrying the whole day. I kept feeling that congestion. I was about to, on the verge of going to the emergency, but then it just started kicking in, and I started feeling that, being able to take those deeper breaths and feeling that congestion lighten, and so I didn't have to go, and I think that really helped to prevent that secondary infection. But again, just being proactive, and I was giving him an update every day. He was writing back, and the people around me that I was chatting with through WhatsApp were really helping me and giving me the right tips and feedback. And we're doing the same with Celia's mom and Celia's family, because they're also it's a family of doctors as well. So they were giving us tips and things that they're doing in Spain that they're not yet doing in Belgium, and maybe that'll work, or maybe you should try this or that.
Yeah.
And so thank God, all those people, and I'm so grateful to all those people that helped me then, and we, without those people, I definitely wouldn't have been able to make those split second decisions. So big thank you to those guys.
So what would you recommend to people as you've experienced that? I'm in a little bit of as I said, a bubble. I don't get out much. I work from home. It's my husband and kids who are out more, right? And I don't engage too much about debates on what shouldn't or shouldn't be done. I do what I need to do at home, and we manage risk as much as we can. My husband's really used to it, but we see debates on social media as to what shouldn't be done, right? In terms of practices, even in terms of masks, there are sometimes debates, and I'm not going to speak to that. But as somebody who has experienced COVID and also who's in a different country, and I don't know if you're following the response in Canada and in Europe at all, out of curiosity, but what would you say as somebody who's experienced it with his whole family and his 2 kids, to encourage us collectively to think about what we can do individually to protect ourselves and our loved ones and the more vulnerable people too?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and here in Belgium, I'll tell you what, we were taking as much precaution as we could. We were wearing our masks, we were disinfecting our hands all the time. I always had a little box of sanitizer in my pocket. But like, it started getting bad here in Belgium. Come, let's say, late October, early November, the cases just shot up, and we started hearing on a lot of different fronts. People are ill, people are sick. Teachers at the school, people at Alex's nursery, are people that come and help us work, do work around the house, and it's just like we kind of saw the tsunami coming, which was a horrible feeling, and then it hit, and it's like, oh my goodness. But I'll tell you what. I can really understand now, having gone through the virus, why it's so important to take all of those precautions. Because if me and Celia, relatively healthy people, in their 30s, were just so drained and heavily hit by this virus that it just sucks the living daylights out of you. I can definitely understand how it affects people with pre-existing conditions, or vulnerable people who are older. It's dreadful. It's a very bad virus. And I'll tell you what, I tell since I've been sick, my dad's that kind of old school guy, growing up in Poland during tough times, And he sometimes drops those lines like, oh, it's just whatever, it's just a flu, more people die from this and that. And I tell him, look, I'll tell you what, please sanitize your hand, wear your mask, take all the precautions, because I've been through it. I see what effect it can have. And I really tell him to take it seriously, because it's not a joking matter. But at the same time, you have to live your life, right? So
Yeah.
you need to try to strive that balance. uh, that balance of living your life, but taking all the precautions to try to protect you and try to protect your family. But yeah, I'll tell you what, please take it seriously. Please do all the, take all the precautions that you can. And yeah, wear your mask, sanitize your hands, keep a safe social distance, do whatever you can to try to avoid it, right?
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely. Well, I'll ask you one last question because you're probably longing to rest. It's after 8 p.m. in Brussels. So, for parents who are navigating this difficult juggle right now of working, but also sending their kids to childcare, and what you've mentioned to me, I mean, the scary part is that kids who often don't know that they have it, right? They can be carriers without knowing it.
mm,
And so, as parents are making decisions to carry on with life and go to work, but send their kids to childcare, and if they hear there are cases, what kind of analysis did you and your wife have? How do you how do you weigh the risks against the benefits of, let's say, being able to put your kid in childcare versus knowing that there's risk and that it's so close now?
yeah, we thought about that a lot, especially when Luisa was starting school in September, and when we had to take the decision to send Alex to the nursery. And we were thinking whether we should do it or not. Should we maybe hire somebody, full time, and like a nanny, and be here with the kids as this thing settles. And we did meet people, and reach out to people who knew nannies. But in the end, we decided that the better option would be just for the kids to go to school, and we would follow, the government procedures and the government protocols, because I know there was a lot of thought behind that. And again, it's that question of, yeah, how do you live a normal life, and send your kids to school, and at the same time try to avoid those risks. We tried our best, but at a certain moment, Belgium was sideswiped, and we just, like, uh, yeah, we were one of the unfortunate, few parents that got, and there's people who live the virus, and don't get over it. So in a way, we're probably more fortunate, to be able to overcome this. But yeah, I don't know, Kenya. It's hard to answer that question. Like, it's a tough one. You have to put your trust in the procedures in the government and in the schools ways of working. But at the same time, it's also a new virus, so they haven't fully figured it out as well. No one has. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just crossing my fingers that, now that there's a lot of positive news, and there's also coming in from the vaccine trials that, distribution will start, people will start taking them, and that's going to change the game, and make people immune, and then those who have gone through it and who are immune as well can just sort of kind of get back to normal life. But that's still going to take a while. But yeah, Kenya, it's a tough question. I don't even know if I've yeah, I don't really have a really good answer to that one.
Well, sounds like you've done a lot of reflection, grounded. You said your wife is a rock, and you're really grounded in some core values. So, and it sounds like you made the best decisions with the information you had and the intelligence that you have. You are both highly intelligent people. You processed it. You did what you could. You kept a positive and strong mindset throughout this whole ordeal, and now you've been so generous to share your experience that hopefully will give people encouragement and hope that even if unfortunately they do experience this horrible virus, they can see you, I guess, 3 weeks in and you are sitting and talking with us and playing with your child and, being back to normal. So I can't thank you enough for your time and your energy to think of others as well as you're going through all of this. Thank you, Kamil.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Kinia. And as I said, if any of your viewers or any of the people in your program want to reach out and have some questions, feel free to give them my contact information. I'm more than happy to, to speak to them or give them kind of my tips and tricks in addition to what I've mentioned here in our conversation. Hey, so thank you so much, Kinia, and keep doing the great work that you're doing here on Pros and Babes. I really love tuning in, and now you'll have one fan back. I had to take a hiatus these last few weeks, but I'll be tuning into the next live sessions.
Perfect. Thank you, Kamil. I'll see you backstage in just a second. Thank you all for joining us today. We see quite a few tuned in live. Indeed, it was an interesting story to follow. So I'll see you in a second, Kamil, backstage. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.